8. Time to talk to the voice of the creative economy, Vincent Heeringa at Idealogue magazine, idealogue.co.nz. Good morning, Vincent.
Good morning, Wammo.
Today talking about ultra-fast broadband and what is actually going to be carried on those pipes and the discussions at the moment whether or not it's just going to be Sky TV who's going to be providing all that content, or is there going to be more competition, Vincent?
Well, it depends who you talk to. The people, your good employers, in fact, MediaWorks, the owners of TV3, TV4 and Radio Works, of which I think you were part of, is that right?
That's correct, yeah.
They have a beef with ultra-fast broadband. In fact, Susan Turner, your managing director, has gone so far as to say that it will fail because the content that will be available on it is restricted really to only one or two providers, and that's primarily Sky and TVNZ.
Because they hold the rights to a lot of those overseas shows.
Yes, not just the rights, but also the buying capacity. So these shows are bought on the open market and typically will be sold as a bundle of programs. So you buy CSI Miami, you'll get the other CSIs, but you might also get a bunch of other shows, typically American TV shows, that will then be marketed to the rest of to the country via the Sky TV platform or through TVNZ's channels. And the argument that other providers outside of those two have is that the buying capacity of the combined buying capacity of TVNZ and Sky is so great that it locks everyone else out of the market. And there's no wholesale market in New Zealand for content. What people are really talking about is video content, so sports rights, movies, TV shows.
And on-demand rights.
That's where that is where you get into some grey area, but often the on-demand rights and the broadcasting rights are one and the same, so they'll be joined at the hip, if you like. And Sky TV is saying, well, whoa, hang on a minute, we import this stuff, but we can resell it as well, and that's what the government is. So the complaints of MediaWorks are falling on deaf ears in government because they're saying, well, hang on, you can buy this off Sky. And Sky is prepared to sell them, but the argument is, well, is Sky prepared to sell them at a rate that is, going to be competitive in the market? And kind of the accusation is that Sky are effectively a monopoly.
Right, and aren't there also concerns that ISPs who will be providing, obviously, the data services down these ultra-fast broadband lines, are there concerns that ISPs may favour some content over others? They may have a deal with Sky where that content is zero rated, you don't get charged for that data, it doesn't count against your cap, versus, let's say QuickFlix or something like that, or Netflix or whatever comes into the market and they want to provide a service, but they can't get zero rated by any of the ISPs.
Well, that depends. Yeah, yes, that's absolutely right. So an ISP like Telstra Clear, which has been broadcasting content, particularly through its Saturn channel for years, does have a Sky relationship with Sky where it can buy from Sky some certain programs, certain rights that it rebroadcasts. It all comes back, though, to the perceived monopoly that Sky has in the market. And the argument, remember, there's two things about this argument that are kind of worth reflecting on. It's very similar to the situation that Telecom was in a decade ago, really, where it not only provided the wholesale infrastructure, but it also was a competitor in the market. And the argument was about, well, I'm Telstra Clear or I'm Vodafone and I have to resell my competitor's product. So there are a lot of arguments about Telecom being a provider of kind of infrastructure and core products.
Yeah.
And so that's why it was split into Chorus and into Telecom. And the argument from MediaWorks is now that, well, Sky is actually bringing in all this content. It's a player in the market, but it's also going to run a wholesale market. It doesn't make sense. It's
Sure.
a sort of poacher and gamekeeper at the same time. And so it's kind of very similar kind of dynamics to where the telco market was 5 or 10 years ago. It's kind of moved on now to being about content, publishers, broadcasters.
So everyone is talking about regulations, bringing in some kind of regulation, but so far I haven't actually heard of what form that regulation would take and how it would look in the market.
Well, the suggestion from MediaWorks is that there is intervention at that wholesale level, and that there is kind of pricing controls and certain kind of rules about how much Sky, and particularly Sky and TVNZ, can charge together for wholesaling their content to other players. So that would be where the intervention would come. But there's a second point about this, and that is this is, to me, it misses the whole point of ultra-fast broadband, and it actually really bugs me a lot, because what we're talking about is ultra-fast broadband, this incredible infrastructure that we're laying down for servicing just 4.2 million people with movie content and rugby games. Both of which I like. I like rugby. I like movies. But the real opportunity around ultra-fast broadband is not entertaining ourselves to death. It's providing New Zealand with a channel to the rest of the world. And I'm a bit disappointed that, a little bit like the telecommunications industry in times gone by, has made it the focus of their argument is about servicing the domestic scene. We've got a really unusual and unique opportunity to use ultra-fast broadband to actually create products and services that connect us to the rest of the world. So my thinking is, rather than argue about, probably it's right to have an argument about the distribution rights of Friends and CSI, but really I couldn't give a stuff. What's more interesting is, what are we going to do with this to create content that will reach the rest of the world? And so long as the government and industry gets tangled up in arguing over the domestic use of ultra-fast broadband, I think we'll miss the whole point, which is that we should be making shows, software, products, marketing collateral that uses this broadband capability to talk to the 7 billion people who are on the planet, rather than the 4.2 million who are here.
So that New Zealand as a whole can be the studio pumping out the stuff that the rest of the world wants to see. Absolutely. And arguments about whether an Australian-owned media company should be allowed to wholesale rights with Sky, to me, it's so boring and so irrelevant that, but this is where the focus of the argument, or focus of attention around UFB is going. And what I'm saying is, there's a leadership opportunity here for the telcos, for the government, for industry, to say, hang on, let's solve that rather boring and trivial question, but let's address this real opportunity around how are we going to use this new infrastructure. We're really talking about, this is the refrigeration of our time, which completely transformed New Zealand. And I just want to wave a flag for this opportunity for transformation and innovation. Who's going to do it? Emma, where's the leadership from the telco industry, or from government, or even from our media companies? Good question, and thanks for putting the challenge out there, Vincent. Dialogue.co.nz is where people can head to see more or hear more from Vincent, and be Heeringa on Twitter. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.